My name is Elena Rivera, and for the longest time I refused to share what happened to me, out of shame, out of fear, out of the terror that spreading this story might somehow call it back. I was 19 when my friends Mara, Jade, and Theo and I decided to take a short vacation before our second semester of college. We chose Dunvale, a rural mountain village known for cheap cabins, foggy trails, and old stone bridges that looked good in photos. It was peaceful, quiet, nothing like the nightmare it would become. Our cabin sat near the forest edge. On the second afternoon, Mara suggested exploring. Jade wanted to nap, Theo was prepping the barbecue. Mara backed out last minute, so I went alone. I wish I hadn't. The forest trail was overgrown but walkable. I followed a faint path until I reached a clearing where an abandoned stone building stood. Weather-worn, roof half collapsed, windows like dark eye sockets. It looked ancient, older than the village itself. Something about it tugged at me, not curiosity, more like a pull. The door was still attached, hanging crooked. When I stepped inside, the air changed. Temperature, cold, thick, almost solid. Dust coated everything except one thing, a circle of stones in the middle of the floor. And inside the circle lay scraps of burnt fabric, old ropes, and rust-colored stains that didn't look like rust. I should have left immediately. But then I heard it, a voice. It whispered, not in English, not in any language I knew. It sounded like a low breath scraping against bone. My vision blurred. The room stretched like someone was pulling the edges of reality. Then the whisper rose, louder, filling my skull like pressure underwater. I stumbled back, tripped, slammed my head, and everything went black. When I woke up, it was already dark outside. Back at the cabin, my friends were furious, asking where I'd been. I couldn't explain. I didn't want to talk about the building because the moment I tried to describe it, a splitting headache tore through me. My stomach churned. My thoughts tangled. That night, I had my first nightmare. I dreamed of the building, but inside, it wasn't abandoned. There were priests, maybe 5, forming a circle around someone tied to a chair. They were chanting, sweating, terrified. Something roared inside the victim, something inhuman. One priest was thrown across the room, hitting the wall so hard the impact cracked it, and the victim lifted its head. Eyes completely black, mouth stretched too wide. It looked directly at me. I woke up screaming, my sheets soaked with sweat. But it wasn't the dream that terrified me. It was the fact that the scream that woke me wasn't mine. The voice that came out of my throat was too deep, too guttural. I told myself I was imagining things, but I wasn't. When we got home from the trip, things escalated fast. I started waking up in different rooms. I'd find myself standing in corners I don't remember walking to. My family said I'd whisper to myself at night, deep, rumbling whispers that shook the walls. I'd forget hours at a time. My mother told me my eyes would sometimes roll upward or dart around so fast she thought I was having seizures. But doctors found nothing. And the voice that wasn't mine, started speaking when I was awake. It started small. I'd be eating dinner, and suddenly the fork would drop from my hand and a low growl would escape my throat. He's watching. Or I'd be brushing my teeth and hear from the mirror's reflection, soon I will take you and no one stop it. My family tried not to panic, but the day the bathroom mirror shattered without me touching it, they took me to the first priest, Father Elias. He was gentle, patient, the type who smelled faintly of incense. During the blessing, he placed a hand on my head and barely lasted a minute before jerking away, eyes wide. Her pulse, it's wrong, he muttered. My mother nodded through tears. She's been like this for weeks. Father Elias shook his head. Not wrong as in sick, wrong as in not human. He left in a hurry but never returned. That night I heard the voice laugh inside my skull for the first time. Low, triumphant, hungry. My father drove me 4 hours to a mountain monastery where 3 priests prayed over me. They sprinkled holy water, drew crosses, lit candles. The voice grew furious. During the chanting, my body lifted an inch off the chair, not enough for them to call it levitation, but enough for their faces to drain of color. One priest whispered, "This girl is possessed." Another whispered, "No, she is claimed." They lasted 20 minutes before stopping. "We cannot help her," the eldest said, trembling. "What has hold of her is older than our training." My parents sobbed the entire ride home. I sat in the back seat silently because the thing inside me wouldn't let me speak. I lost time, so much time. Days blurred into each other. The thing inside me took control whenever it wanted. I'd watch myself from somewhere deep inside, unable to stop what my body was doing. I scratched crosses onto the walls. I tore pages from my mother's Bible and ate them. I laughed at nothing until my throat bled. Sometimes I'd wake up with bruises around my own neck, like something had tried to choke me from the inside. The worst moment happened one night around 3 a.m. I woke up sitting on my bed with my spine perfectly straight, my hands folded neatly on my lap, like a doll someone had posed, and my mouth opened, but I didn't speak. He did. "Why do you cling to this flesh?" the voice rasped. "This vessel should have broken by now." My jaw moved without pain, without limits. Blood trickled from my nose. My eyes, reflected in my wardrobe mirror, were pitch black. He continued, "Your priests were delightful. Their fear tasted old." A shiver ran down my back, but my body didn't react. I consumed more faithful men than you can imagine. I tried to ask what it wanted, and the demon answered before I could speak the question. "You came to my house. You woke me. You offered yourself when you crossed the stones, the circle." The stones. The stains. I had stepped into a place where an ancient exorcism had taken place, one that had failed, and whatever they were trying to contain attached itself to me. My family had nearly given up, but my aunt remembered a priest from her province, a man known for cases others failed to resolve, Father Gabriel Cruz. He arrived quietly, carrying no grand crucifix, no team of assistants, just a small leather bag and a rosary made of dark, uneven stones. From the moment he entered the house, the air shifted. The demon inside me went silent. I remember that silence vividly, like being in a room with a predator suddenly frozen mid-step. Father Gabriel asked my family to stay outside. He sat in front of me, his eyes gentle but unwavering. "Tell me your name," he said. I tried to answer, but the demon forced my jaw shut. Father Gabriel nodded. "Then I will speak to the other." The reaction was immediate. My head snapped back with a loud crack. My mouth stretched unnaturally wide. "You," the voice gurgled, "are not welcome here." Father Gabriel remained calm. "I'm not here to welcome you. I'm here to remove you." The demon hissed. "This one is mine." "She is not," Father Gabriel replied softly. "She is God's." Then the demon laughed, a horrible, wet laugh. "3 priests died in my house. What makes you think you will survive?" Father Gabriel lowered his head. "I know the story of the Dunvale exorcism, and I know how you escaped," the demon snarled. "They failed." "Yes," Gabriel whispered, "but I will not." It lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of screaming, chanting, thrashing, fighting. At one point, my body bent backwards so far my spine should have snapped. Father Gabriel pressed his rosary to my forehead, and steam rose from my skin. The demon roared, "You have no rights over me!" And Father Gabriel thundered back, "I cast you out by the authority that is not mine but his. Be gone, spirit of violence. Leave this child." I vomited black fluid that smelled like rotting iron. My fingernails cracked from clawing the bed frame. My jaw dislocated and then snapped back into place. The demons screamed in words I couldn't understand, ancient, violent, filled with hatred. Father Gabriel never stopped. He was drenched in sweat, shaking, but his voice never wavered. Finally, as dawn touched the window, something inside me tore loose, like a thread being yanked from the deepest part of my soul. A shriek exploded from my throat. The windows shattered, every light bulb burst. Then, silence. My body collapsed. I remember Father Gabriel lifting my head gently, whispering, "You're free now, child. He's gone." I cried until I couldn't breathe. For months, I felt empty, not in a sad way, but like finally walking without a weight chained to your back. Father Gabriel visited twice, just to check on me. He said the demon wasn't strong enough to return. Ancient, yes, but weakened by decades of confinement in that abandoned building. He told me the stones I stepped into were once a containment circle used in a failed exorcism in the 1900s. The priests had died trying to banish the entity, and the building had been sealed by the village until time and neglect consumed it. I had unknowingly broken that seal by entering the circle. "But you survived," he said, touching my shoulder, "because you fought. You resisted." For a long time, I slept with the lights on. I avoided mirrors. I avoided forests, abandoned buildings, anything with dark windows. But I healed. I'm still healing. Some of the parts I heard from my mother because I was unconscious, and the demon was in charge of my body and mind. After the exorcism, my mother told me what happened. We broke the big lock hanging on the door and stepped inside the house. The moment the metal snapped, we felt something shift in the air, heavy, stale, almost alive. A rotten smell made us almost vomit, creeping into our lungs like the breath of something long dead. Bloodstains were all over the walls and floor, smudged in trails as if something had been dragged or had crawled. After we stepped into the kitchen, the silence pressed down on us. Our blood ran cold. What we saw was inhuman. My name is Rahman, and I live in a peaceful little town where people know each other by name, where every house holds memories, and every neighbor is like family. For years, our area was calm, warm, quiet. Nothing strange ever happened here. Nothing that could prepare us for what I'm about to share. What I witnessed, what we witnessed, still haunts me every single night. It all started with a family that had lived here for decades. A good family. A respected family. Everyone loved them. Everyone trusted them, and they trusted us too. One day, they announced they were leaving for America to live with their son. They said they would rent their house while they were gone. They wanted a trustworthy person to stay there, but they couldn't find anyone suitable in time. So when the day of their flight finally arrived, they had no choice. They handed the responsibility to a broker. None of us thought anything strange about it. Renting through a broker is normal, but what entered that house, what the broker brought into our neighborhood, it wasn't normal. It wasn't human. The broker rented the house to a new family. They arrived silently, almost like shadows slipping into the building. They didn't bring much stuff. No fridge, no TV, no furniture. Just a few necessary items. It was odd, very odd, but people can be simple. Some live without much, right? But then something else began to feel off. They didn't talk to anyone, not even a smile. When neighbors greeted them, they didn't respond. Not a nod, nothing. A few women from nearby houses even went to welcome them with sweets and food, as is our tradition. They knocked politely, waited, knocked again. No one opened the door, not even to accept food. At first we thought maybe they're too busy settling down, maybe shy, but the silence felt wrong, too heavy. Only the men of the house came out sometimes. They wouldn't talk. They wouldn't look at anyone. They walked fast, heads down, as if they didn't belong with us or didn't want to be seen by us. Weeks passed like that, until one day I saw something. I was at a restaurant with a friend when I saw two men from that family sitting at a corner table with two women. They were whispering, talking quietly, acting strangely suspicious. The men kept looking around, watching every entrance, every person, as if they were conducting some secret business. Then, suddenly, the girls pulled out a thick bundle of money and slid it across the table. Thick, heavy, like thousands of taka. My eyes widened, but I didn't approach them. I didn't even move. I just sat there watching, confused, unsettled. My heart pounded with questions. Later that evening, I discussed what I saw with some of the neighbors. Turns out, I wasn't the first one who felt something dark around that family. People in the area were already worried. And then, something even stranger happened. One day, we saw a man from that house taking a goat inside the house. A live goat, on a leash, into that small building. At first, I didn't think too much. Maybe he had a farm somewhere else. Maybe it was for Eid Qurbani, but it wasn't Eid season. And an old neighbor, Grandpa Karim, a man who has seen enough of life to recognize danger when he feels it, looked at the goat and whispered, "Who takes a goat into a house? If they had a farm, they'd take it there, not inside their living room." His voice carried a kind of fear I can't explain. Something cold spread across my skin. That's when the anxiety started. That's when the aura began. People felt uncomfortable passing near that house. There was a dark presence, like an evil aura suffocating the area. Even children stopped playing near the gate. Dogs barked at the walls at night. Cats refused to go close. A kind of invisible heaviness hung over the whole street. Soon after, the neighbors noticed something else. That family, unlike every other house, never gave their trash to the trash collector. They always took it somewhere far away themselves. Every night. Nobody knew where. Nobody knew why. And that question burned inside our minds. What's in their trash that no one should see? Finally, I called the owner of the house. I told him everything. And he was shocked. He said, "I don't know who is living there. I gave the responsibility to a broker, but I will contact him." He promised to ask the broker about the tenants. A few days later, the truth arrived. Unexpected, terrifying. A neighbor, while passing near the area where the suspicious family dumped their trash, saw something that froze his soul. Inside their garbage pile were many rotten goat heads. Not one, not two. Many. Rotting, decaying, covered in dried blood, stinking so horribly the neighbor nearly vomited. He rushed back into the neighborhood, terrified, screaming for everyone to gather. When we heard about the goat heads, something broke inside the community. The fear turned into anger, and that anger turned into action. The elders called a meeting that same evening. We decided to confront them, face to face. So the next day, a large group of us, including elders, youths, and respected members of the community, walked together to that house. We weren't armed, but our hearts were pounding. We knocked. We knocked harder. We shouted. We waited. No response. Suddenly, after minutes of silence, a woman's voice came from inside. She said, "There are no men in the house right now. I cannot show myself in front of men." She claimed she was a Muslim woman, and because of modesty, she couldn't open the door to strange men. We understood, but we also knew she was lying. The men were inside. We could feel it. Still, to avoid disrespect and escalation, we replied calmly, "We will give you time. Tell the men to attend the committee meeting tomorrow evening." She agreed. She said, "Okay, they will go." Later that night, the owner of the house called me again. He said, "I talked to the broker. He said he doesn't know them. That family needed a house, and he just gave them the house. They pay the rent without delay to my cousin, and he sends me the money. But I took a photo of their NID and bank details. If they are making people uncomfortable, I will tell them to leave the house." I told him we would decide after the meeting. He hung up. Then came the evening of the long-awaited meeting. We gathered in the community field. We waited and waited. For hours. No one came. Not a single member of the suspicious family. Our fear turned into rage. A whole group of us walked toward the house again, this time determined to get answers. When we reached the gate, we saw something that made our stomachs drop. There was a big lock hanging on the door. They were gone. Vanished. Disappeared in the night. We didn't waste a moment. We broke the lock and entered the house. What we saw inside haunts my dreams even now. A rotten, bloody smell swallowed the entire space, the kind of smell that seeps into your bones. In the kitchen, goat meat was spread everywhere, decomposing, on the floor, on the table, even smeared across the walls. And then we saw the circles. Black magic circles drawn on the floor, each with a goat head placed at the center. Most horrifyingly, it was the symbol of Baal. Who was Baal? Baal was an ancient demon god worshipped thousands of years ago in the Middle East. His followers believed he gave power, wealth, and influence, but in return, he demanded blood. Dark blood. Children were sacrificed in his name. Animals were butchered alive. Brutal rituals, screaming, fire pits, and black chants filled his ceremonies. Worshippers believed Baal could manipulate fate, curse enemies, and twist reality itself. They carved his symbol onto stones, walls, and sacrificial tables. Those rituals were so terrifying that kings banned them. Whole civilizations fought to erase Baal's existence. But his worship continued in secret, underground, hidden in forests, deserts, and abandoned places. And now Baal's followers were here, in our town, inside our neighbor's house. Back inside the house, we continued searching. We found rotten blood smeared across the floors. We saw dolls made from fabric, each one shaped like a human. Some of them hung from the ceiling with ropes around their necks. Fashidawa. Some had cross marks on their belly, head, or limbs. Then we saw the wall. There were hooks hammered into the wall, each hook holding rotten meat dried and blackened. The smell was unbearable. But the worst discovery was still waiting. Inside a drawer, we found a diary, a thick, old notebook. Inside were names, many people's names, written one after another. Next to each name, an amount was written, 5,000ers, 7,000, tens and dollars. And next to the amount, 2 chilling words, Job done. That meant only one thing. They performed black magic on real people for money. They cursed people. They destroyed lives. They took payment to ruin others. The room suddenly felt colder. We were all frozen in fear, standing inside a house that had become a ritual ground for something unspeakable. After we escaped the house, the owner's cousin came. He washed the whole place, scrubbed every wall, removed every sign of that horror. He even called an imam to purify the house, recite Quran, and cleanse it spiritually. The house became clean again, normal again. But the people who lived there, the ones who performed those rituals, the worshippers of Baal, they didn't vanish. They simply moved to another town, another neighborhood, another innocent place that doesn't know what's coming. They are still out there, performing rituals, killing goats, maybe even killing people, all for money. And no one knows who their next target will be. I saw him. I talked to him. But from my friend's point of view, I was talking to thin air. There was no one around me. How is that possible? Brace yourself for the horror. My name is Rahim, 33 years old, project coordinator for a private construction company. 2 months ago, my team and I were assigned to survey land in a rural province about 7 hours away from Dhaka. Remote, quiet, full of greenery, and, as I now know, not entirely human. This story isn't an exaggeration. It isn't something I heard from someone. It happened to me, and you can believe it or leave it, but I know what I saw. We reached the province at dusk, the sky washed with fading orange. Our team of 4 booked a local hotel, an old 2-story building with cracked green paint and wooden windows that creaked even when the wind was asleep. I was sharing a room with my junior, Naeem, a smart guy, talkative, easy to work with. We dropped our bags, washed up, and went downstairs to grab tea from the tea stall beside the hotel. That's when I saw him, an old security guard, sitting alone in front of a massive, crooked tree right beside the entrance gate. The tree was enormous, wide, twisted branches stretching like arms over the rooftop. Its trunk was dark, almost burned looking, but no fire had ever touched it. Even the air around that tree felt heavier. The security guard, in contrast, looked too still. White beard, dark wrinkled skin, uniform faded to gray. His eyes were half closed, like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. When we walked past him, Naim didn't even glance at the guard. I did. The old man slowly turned his head. His eyes were yellowish, not bright, dull, like candlelight struggling to stay alive, and he smiled, not friendly, not welcoming, just knowing. Later that night, around 10 p.m., I stepped outside for fresh air. The temperature had dropped sharply. The wind pushed gently at my back, almost nudging me toward the big tree. The guard was still there, sitting exactly the same way. "Assalamu alaikum, cha-cha," I greeted him. He didn't respond for 3 seconds. Then he whispered, "Wa alaikum assalam." His voice, it sounded like two voices speaking together. One old and one deeper, like someone buried underground repeating his words. "You shouldn't walk around at night," he said without looking at me. "Why? Something wrong here?" He pointed one trembling finger at the tree behind him. "This tree doesn't sleep," he murmured. A chill slid down my spine. "What does that mean?" I asked. He finally turned his head fully toward me, eyes strangely reflective under the dim light. "People think this is an ordinary province," he said, "but some places are older than villages, older than people. This tree is one of those. Many things live here. Jinns, wandering spirits, and some that don't have a name." His eyes didn't blink. "Locals say they hear them at night. Whispers, footsteps. Sometimes they feel someone watching them from the branches, even when the branches don't move." I swallowed. "So, any accident or story?" The guard leaned closer. "Many," he whispered. "Some never made it to morning." His breath smelled like damp soil. Then he leaned back and added, almost playfully, "If you hear a knock at your door at night, don't open it. Jinns are curious about newcomers." Before I could ask anything more, he smiled that slow, stretched smile again. "You will understand soon." And then he looked away. I returned to the room, feeling uneasy. Neem was already lying on his bed, scrolling through his phone. "Bro, that security guard outside." "Weird man," I said. Neem frowned. "What guard? There's no guard here. Only the receptionist uncle sits downstairs." I stared at him. "You didn't see the old man sitting beside the tree?" "No one was there," he said casually. "Maybe you saw someone passing by." I didn't argue, but it bothered me. We switched off the lights around 12:30 a.m. At 2:47 a.m. I woke up suddenly, like someone tapped my shoulder. The room was dark except for the dim bulb outside our window. Then I heard it. Knock. Soft. Slow. On our door. I held my breath. Maybe Naeem was awake? I looked. He was snoring lightly. Knock. Another one. A little louder. I sat up. "Who's there?" I whispered. No response. The hair on my arms stood up. The guard's warning repeated in my head. "Don't open the door." Then something scraped across the door. Long, dragging, like nails. I covered my ears, closed my eyes, and waited. After maybe 2 minutes, it stopped. I didn't sleep again. Morning came like a blessing. As soon as Naim woke up, I told him everything. The knocking, the sound, the strange conversation with the old guard. He stared at me, confused. "Bro, be serious. There's no guard here. The owner lives with his family. That's it. Ask anyone." I did. I even asked the receptionist uncle. He looked at me like I'd asked for directions to Mars. "We don't hire guards. The area is safe. You must have mistaken someone else." But no. The man I saw wasn't someone else. He was always sitting in front of that tree. Same clothes, same posture, same dead half smile, same eyes. That evening, when the sun set, he was there again like he never moved. The second night, I told myself I wouldn't go near him, but curiosity is dangerous and fear makes curiosity worse. Around 9:30 p.m., from our room window, I could see the tree through a narrow angle. The guard was there, staring straight up into the branches, like he was having a silent conversation with someone above him. His head would tilt, then tilt again, but nothing was there. That image kept replaying in my mind even after I lay down. Around 1:15 a.m., the sound started again, not knocking this time, something else, whispers, right outside our window, not Bengali, not Arabic, not any language I recognized, more like someone humming and choking at the same time. Ah! The voice rose, then suddenly stopped. I slowly crawled to the window and gently pulled the curtain, but nothing was there, only the tree. Silent. Still. And then I saw him. The guard was standing under our window, directly below it, looking straight up, right at me. His eyes glowed like dying embers. I slammed the curtain shut and jumped back. My heart hammered so loudly I thought Naeem would wake up, but he slept through all of it. The rest of the night, the whispering continued intermittently, like someone crawling around the building. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I was pale, exhausted, and shaken. I needed answers. I confronted the receptionist again. "Listen," I said, "there is an old guard here. White beard, gray uniform, watches the tree at night. Who is he?" The man stepped back, visibly unsettled. "You shouldn't talk about that tree," he whispered. "People avoid it. Bad things happen." I leaned in. "Is there a guard or not?" He hesitated, looked around, lowered his voice. "There was a guard many years ago, before my time. He used to watch over that tree because things happened near it. But what?" He swallowed. "He died, Baba, almost 20 years ago." My blood ran cold. "What?" "He hung himself from that same tree," the man whispered. A heavy silence filled the room. "You're telling me the guard I talk to every night is a dead man?" The owner nodded slowly, fearfully. "Some people say he never left his duty." That night, I refused to sleep. I kept the lights on. Naeem slept early, exhausted from the field work. I sat against the wall, arms crossed, phone in hand, determined not to close my eyes. At exactly 3 a.m., the room became freezing cold. My breath turned white. The lights flickered, and then I heard footsteps in the hallway, slow, dragging, coming toward our room. One step, another. Then the footsteps stopped right outside our door. My heart stopped beating for a moment. Then I heard a whisper, "Open the door, Rahim." It was his voice. The guards, but deeper, hungrier. I didn't move. "Come outside," he said. I pressed my back against the wall, trembling. Then the doorknob slowly turned, left, right, but the door stayed locked. Suddenly, the footsteps moved to the window outside. Then the whispering started again, right against the glass. "Why don't you see what's waiting for you?" I covered my ears, terrified. After 10 minutes, the room went silent. No footsteps, no whispering. I thought it was over, until a face appeared behind the curtain, a dark shape, pressed against the glass from outside the second floor. But it wasn't human. The mouth was too wide, the eyes too bright, the jaw too long. It was smiling, that same stretched smile. I froze. Then, with a slow, heavy motion, the figure raised one hand and waved at me. I screamed for Naeem. He woke up terrified, turned on the lights completely, and ran to the window. But when he pulled the curtain, there was nothing, just darkness. The final night, I couldn't take it anymore. I packed my bags at dawn, but before leaving, I went downstairs one last time, hoping somehow this was all a misunderstanding. The spot where the guard always sat was empty. The tree swayed slightly in the morning breeze. Then, from behind the trunk, a head slowly peeked out. The guard, half his face visible, that awful crooked smile still plastered on. "You're leaving," he said quietly. "Yes," I whispered. "You think you're safe if you leave?" My heart tightened. He stepped out fully, and in daylight, he didn't look human at all. His skin was grayish, his shadow didn't match his body, and his eyes were hollow, dark holes with faint orange light flickering deep inside. "You saw us," he whispered. "Now we see you." I stumbled backward. He leaned closer, still smiling. "But go, if you want. The tree has no interest in you anymore." His smile widened unnaturally. "You were fun while it lasted." My chest tightened with dread. As I turned to leave, he added, "Next time, don't answer whispers at night." I left that hotel in 15 minutes flat. Took my bag, grabbed Naeem, and told the team we were relocating to another lodge immediately. I didn't explain anything. I didn't look back at the tree. As the car pulled away, I swear I saw a figure standing under the branches, still, silent, watching our car disappear. That night, for the first time in 3 days, I slept peacefully. No whispers, no knocking, no footsteps, nothing following me home. I was free. But sometimes, when I wake up at night, I feel like someone is standing outside my window. Not knocking, not whispering, just watching, waiting. And sometimes, just sometimes, I smell damp soil, the same smell that came from the guard's breath. If you ever visit a rural province and see a huge old tree with a guard sitting beside it at night, don't talk to him, don't look at him, and never ever open your door when something knocks at 3 a.m. because not every guard is alive, and not every tree is alone. All right, guys, the horror ends here for tonight. There will be more terrifying experiences on this channel, so don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Share it with your horror nerd friends. If you've experienced something paranormal, you can email your story to the address in the description. See you in the next video. Stay safe until then, if you can.